A common trope in movies is people calling a payphone and someone else picking up to communicate secretly, but why did payphones even accept incoming calls? What was the legitimate non-criminal reason for getting an incoming call on a payphone? Life before mobile phones required better planning. Imagine that me and my wife are independently running important errands all day. We aren't sure who will finish first, but agree that whoever does will pick up the kids. How are we to communicate when both of us will be moving around all day? I know I'll be in the main street area for most of the day, while my wife will be going all over the place and her route could vary considerably. I tell her to call the main street payphone from wherever she is at 3 p.m., and I'll wait it to pick up her call. My wife calls at 3 p.m. from whatever phone is nearest, and we review. Success. Calling payphones was also a useful way of reducing costs. The person at the payphone calls to say they are there, then the person at home calls back at a much lower rate and without needing a supply of coins. You might not have enough coins, so you might want to tell the other person to call you so you can continue talking. Edit. Why is this question so upvoted? And also my comment. This sub is so random sometimes. At my college dorm, there was a payphone on each floor. You told your parents or GFBF to call at a certain time, and you just waited by the phone. If it was busy, they'd call back until it rang. If you weren't there, someone would pick up and then go knock on your door. Michael J. Fox said that when he was starting out in Hollywood, he was sleeping on a friend's couch. He didn't have a corded phone in the apartment and cell phones hadn't been invented yet. He said he'd get a book from the library and wait by a local payphone, where he had used the number as his phone on job applications and also for his agent to call him with jobs as an extra. Not being able to afford your own phone is a legitimate non-criminal reason to use a payphone. If you didn't have a lot of coins, you would call someone, relay the number, and have them call back. Or if you didn't have a phone at home, you would give out the payphone number, then wait nearby for it to ring. You could do it when applying for jobs or waiting for confirmation of an appointment, or the results of some tests. My dad worked evening shift and the only way to call home was with a payphone. He would ring the phone once and hang up, then mom would call him back. The dime would come back out. To this day, I never answered the phone on the first ring. There was a time when not every house or person had a phone, so they put payphones on the corner of a few streets for people to share, and people would ask someone to call that phone at a certain time or call back after the coins had run out. Phones were already made to send and resist calls and for having a number. Making payphones an exception to this would have been extra work for really no benefit. In the housing estate where I grew up in Ireland, there was a payphone. Back in the 80s, not everyone had a house phone, so they'd give the number of the payphone to family friends. If you were walking past, and it rang, you would answer, and the person ringing would say, "Can you run to Mr. X at house number Y and get them to come to the phone?" or they'd ask you to give them a message. You can even make calls from a phone with no keypad. Taxi phones in airports often have dedicated buttons that only dial one specific number. However, using a tone dialer held up to the mouthpiece, the phone will hear the tones and dial the number. You can call someone from a payphone and then ask them to call you back. That way you only have to pay for the initial call and they pay for the rest. Because making and receiving calls is how phones work. I was living overseas for a while and there was no landline where I was staying. The local payphone was how my then partner would contact me. I'd make sure I was there at a certain time and day each week. Gosh, this makes me super old, doesn't it? You would call someone from a payphone to call you back. Payphones were the mobile phones of the time. My mom used to call the payphone next to the park when it was time to come home. That got around in school and everybody rang that phone. You'd walk by and answer it. "Is James in the park?" "1 minute. James." "Yeah?" "Your mom said tea's ready." "Okay, thanks." So common in my village as a kid. Not all payphones allowed incoming calls. It would usually say somewhere on the phone if it didn't. But as a kid I'd do the collect call thing. Mom would call back to the pre-designated number after denying the collect call. She would write down the payphone numbers, made us use specific payphones, so she knew we were where we said we were. They used to post the payphone number on the phone. It was free if the call was incoming. I do remember after a while they turned off the ringers on the payphones, but it still made this very faint clicking or the likes. I can't exactly remember the noise, but you could hear it just enough. It was very common to use payphones back in the day, and you would give the number where you were to have someone call you back right away if needed. It's not a trope.